Welcome back. Today we explore the fascinating tale of Greek mythology. As always, relax and let yourself drift away. Let's begin. In the beginning, there was only chaos. From this primordial void emerged the first deities of Greek mythology, setting in motion a cosmic drama that would shape the universe. But what forces drove the creation of the world as we know it? And how did the Olympian gods come to power? The answer lies in a tale of betrayal, revenge, and cosmic upheaval that spans generations of divine beings. From the castration of Uranus to the Titanomachy, the stage was set for a new order that would define the relationship between gods and mortals for millennia to come. Chapter 1: The Primordial Deities, from Chaos to Order. In the vast expanse of primordial nothingness, a cosmic drama began to unfold. At the dawn of existence, there was only chaos, an infinite void devoid of form or substance. This primordial state, however, was not destined to remain static. From the depths of this formless abyss, the first deities emerged, setting in motion the grand tapestry of creation that would eventually lead to the world as we know it. These primordial beings were fundamentally different from the gods that would later populate the Greek pantheon. They were not anthropomorphic figures with human-like qualities and foibles, but rather abstract and cosmic forces that embodied the very essence of existence. Their nature was as mysterious as it was powerful, representing the fundamental building blocks of the universe. From chaos arose Gaia, the earth herself, manifesting as a foundation for all life. Gaia was not merely a planet or a goddess in the traditional sense, but the very embodiment of the living world. She represented the nurturing and life-giving aspects of nature, as well as its raw, untamed power. As the primordial mother, Gaia would go on to play a crucial role in the creation of subsequent generations of divine beings. Counterbalancing Gaia's life-giving nature, Tartarus emerged as the deepest pit of the underworld. This cosmic abyss represented the darkest and most forbidding aspects of existence. Tartarus was not just a location, but a primordial force of its own, a realm so profound and terrible that it would later become the prison for the most dangerous and powerful entities in Greek mythology. Another crucial force that came into being during this primordial era was Eros, the force of attraction and desire. Unlike the later depiction of Eros as Aphrodite's companion, this primordial version was a fundamental cosmic principle. Eros represented the power that drew things together, the essential force of creation that allowed for the formation of new entities and the continuation of existence itself. As the cosmic drama continued to unfold, other primordial deities emerged from the void. Nyx, the personification of night, arose as a powerful and mysterious force, often depicted as a shadowy figure draped in dark veils. Nyx represented the unknowable and the hidden. Her domain was the realm of darkness, dreams, and secrets, embodying the mysteries that lay beyond the reach of light and knowledge. Alongside Nyx came Erebus, the personification of darkness itself. While Nyx represented the concept of night, Erebus was the tangible darkness that filled the spaces between the cosmos. Together, Nyx and Erebus formed a primordial pair, their union giving birth to other concepts such as ether, the upper air, and hemera, day. These primordial deities, in their abstract and cosmic natures, established the fundamental forces that would govern the universe. They were not rulers in the traditional sense, but rather embodiments of the essential principles that allowed existence to function. Their presence laid the groundwork for the complex interplay of forces that would characterize the later myths and legends of Greek mythology. The emergence of these beings from chaos marked the first step in the transition from disorder to order. While chaos represented a state of complete formlessness, the primordial deities began the process of defining and shaping the cosmos. Their very existence created distinctions and boundaries, setting the stage for the more structured world that was to come. As these cosmic forces came into being, they set in motion a chain of events that would lead to the creation of the world, as the ancient Greeks understood it. The primordial deities were not just the first beings to exist, but the very foundations upon which all subsequent creation would be built. Their influence would be felt throughout the entire mythological cycle, from the rise of the Titans to the eventual dominance of the Olympian gods. Chapter 2: The Rise of the Titans, Children of Heaven and Earth. From the union of Gaia and Uranus, a new generation of divine beings emerged, destined to reshape the very fabric of existence. The Titans, as they came to be known, were 12 in number and possessed power that rivaled that of their creators. These colossal entities embodied the raw forces of nature, each representing a fundamental aspect of the world as the ancient Greeks understood it. Among the most notable of these celestial offspring was Oceanus, who personified the great river that the Greeks believed encircled the world. This cosmic waterway was thought to be the source of all the Earth's freshwater bodies, from rushing rivers to placid lakes. Hyperion, another prominent Titan, took on the mantle of the sun. In Greek mythology, he was envisioned as a radiant deity who drove his blazing chariot across the sky each day, bringing light and warmth to the world below. The birth of the Titans marked a crucial transition in the cosmic order. No longer was the universe governed solely by the primordial forces that had emerged from chaos. Instead, these new deities represented a more structured and defined natural world, one that was beginning to take on the characteristics that would be familiar to mortal observers. However, the ascendancy of the Titans was not without its complications. Uranus, the personification of the sky and father to these mighty beings, found himself gripped by a paralyzing fear. The immense power wielded by his children filled him with dread, and he began to see them not as his progeny, but as potential usurpers of his cosmic dominion. Driven by this overwhelming anxiety, Uranus made a fateful decision that would have far-reaching consequences for the divine order. He chose to imprison his children within Gaia, the Earth herself. This act of paternal betrayal caused Gaia immense suffering, as she was forced to contain the massive forms of the Titans within her own body. The pain experienced by Gaia was both physical and emotional. As the mother of these powerful beings, she felt the anguish of their confinement acutely. The earth groaned under the weight of the trapped Titans, and Gaia's distress manifested in tremors and upheavals across her surface. This torment drove her to contemplate a drastic solution to end her suffering and free her children. In her anguish, Gaia devised a plan that would forever alter the course of divine history. She crafted a weapon of unparalleled potency, a great sickle forged from adamant, a material of legendary strength and durability. This instrument was designed with a single, terrible purpose in mind: to overthrow Uranus and end his tyrannical rule. With the weapon prepared, Gaia turned her imprisoned children, beseeching them to take up arms against their father. She presented the sickle to each of the Titans in turn, imploring them to strike down Uranus and claim their freedom. Yet, despite their immense power and the suffering they endured, most of the Titans recoiled from the prospect of such a violent act against their own father. It was Cronus, the youngest of the Titans, who finally answered his mother's call. Perhaps driven by ambition or simply pushed to the breaking point by his confinement, Cronus agreed to wield the adamantine sickle against Uranus. This decision would set in motion a chain of events that would echo throughout the annals of Greek mythology. The confrontation between Cronus and Uranus was a moment of cosmic significance. As Uranus descended to unite with Gaia, Cronus lay in wait, the deadly sickle concealed. When the moment was right, he struck, using the weapon to castrate his father in an act of shocking violence. The blood that spilled from Uranus's wound fell upon the earth, seeding it with new forms of life and divine beings. This brutal act marked the end of Uranus's reign and ushered in a new era of Titan rule. Cronus's ascension to power, however, came at a terrible cost. The violence he had committed against his father would cast a long shadow over his own rule, setting a precedent for divine succession through conflict and betrayal. The overthrow of Uranus had far-reaching consequences beyond the immediate shift in power. From the sea foam created by his fallen genitals, a new deity would emerge, Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. This birth marked the beginning of a new generation of gods, ones who would eventually challenge the dominion of the Titans themselves. Chapter 3: The Golden Age, Cronus's reign and the birth of the Olympians. With the fall of Uranus, a new era dawned in the cosmos, one that would be remembered as the Golden Age. Cronus, having seized power from his father, ascended to rule over a world of unprecedented peace and prosperity. This period was characterized by a harmony between gods and mortals that would never again be replicated in the annals of Greek mythology. During this idyllic time, humanity experienced a state of existence that bordered on the divine. Free from the burdens of labor and strife, mortals lived in a perpetual state of bliss, enjoying the fruits of the earth without the need for agriculture or toil. Nature, in its boundless generosity, provided abundantly for all. The concept of aging and death held no sway over these early humans, who reveled in a life unburdened by the concerns that would plague later generations. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect world, a shadow of paranoia began to take root in the mind of the new ruler. Cronus, haunted by the memory of his own ascension to power through violence, lived in constant fear of a prophecy that foretold his own downfall at the hands of his offspring. This fear would drive him to commit acts of unspeakable cruelty, setting in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to the end of his reign and the Golden Age itself. In a desperate attempt to thwart the prophecy, Cronus resorted to a horrific solution. As each of his children was born, he would swallow them whole, consigning them to a fate worse than death, eternal imprisonment within his own body. This brutal act, born of fear and self-preservation, would become the catalyst for his eventual downfall. Rhea, the wife of Cronus and mother to his children, was devastated by the loss of her offspring. With each child devoured, her grief and desperation grew. When she was pregnant with her youngest child, Zeus, Rhea knew she could not bear to lose another. Driven by maternal instinct and a desire to end the cycle of violence, she devised a plan to save her unborn son and, ultimately, her other children. When Zeus was born, Rhea enacted her cunning scheme. She presented Cronus with a stone, carefully wrapped in swaddling clothes to resemble an infant. In his haste and paranoia, Cronus swallowed the stone without question, believing he had once again safeguarded his reign. Meanwhile, Rhea secretly spirited the infant Zeus away to the island of Crete, far from the watchful eyes of his father. On Crete, Zeus found sanctuary and nurturing care. He was raised in secrecy by a group of nymphs, divine spirits of nature who tended to his every need. A she-goat named Amalthea provided the infant god with nourishment, her milk ensuring his rapid growth and development. This period of Zeus's life, spent in hiding on Mount Ida, would prove crucial in shaping him into the deity who would one day challenge the reign of the Titans. As Zeus grew to adulthood, he became acutely aware of his destiny and the role he was meant to play in the cosmic order. The young god began to formulate a plan to overthrow his father and liberate his siblings from their unnatural prison. This plot would require not only strength and courage, but also cunning and strategy, qualities that Zeus had honed during his years in hiding. The culmination of Zeus's plan centered around a clever ruse. He concocted a powerful potion and, disguising himself, managed to serve it to the unsuspecting Cronus. The effects were immediate and dramatic. Cronus, overcome by the potion's potency, began to retch violently. In a reversal of his earlier acts of consumption, he now regurgitated each of the children he had swallowed. First came the stone that had been substituted for Zeus, followed by each of his siblings in reverse order of their birth. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon emerged, fully grown and ready to take their place in the pantheon of gods. This moment marked not only their liberation, but also the beginning of a new cosmic order. Chapter 4. The Titanomachy, War between the Titans and Olympians. The liberation of Zeus's siblings marked only the beginning of their struggle against the established cosmic order. What followed was a conflict of unprecedented scale that would reshape the very foundations of reality. The Titanomachy, a war between the Olympian gods led by Zeus and the Titans under Cronus's command, was about to engulf the entire cosmos in a decade-long struggle for supremacy. As the newly freed Olympians prepared to challenge the entrenched power of the Titans, they faced a daunting task. The Titans, having ruled for eons, possessed formidable strength and deep knowledge of the universe's workings. Zeus, recognizing the need for powerful allies, made a strategic decision that would prove crucial to the war's outcome. He descended into the depths of Tartarus, the darkest pit of the underworld, to free the Cyclops and Hecatoncheires, who had been imprisoned there by Cronus. The release of these ancient beings proved to be a turning point in the conflict. Grateful for their liberation, the Cyclops bestowed upon the Olympians weapons of immense power. Zeus received his iconic thunderbolts, Poseidon was granted a mighty trident, and Hades acquired a helm of invisibility. These divine armaments would play a pivotal role in tipping the scales of war in favor of the younger gods. As the Titanomachy raged on, its effects reverberated throughout the cosmos. The very fabric of reality was torn asunder as divine beings clashed on a scale never before witnessed. Mountains crumbled, seas boiled, and the sky itself seemed to crack under the weight of their battles. The conflict was not merely a physical one, but a struggle for the fundamental nature of existence, with order and chaos hanging in the balance. Interestingly, not all Titans stood united against the Olympians. Some, recognizing the shifting tides of power, or perhaps driven by their own convictions, chose to ally themselves with Zeus and his siblings. Prometheus, known for his cunning and foresight, sided with the Olympians from the outset of the conflict. Oceanus, the great river that encircled the world, also refrained from joining the fight against Zeus. These defections from the Titans' ranks further bolstered the Olympians' position and hinted at the changing allegiances in the cosmic hierarchy. As the war entered its 10th year, neither side had managed to secure a decisive advantage. The battles had raged across every corner of the known world, from the depths of the sea to the highest peaks of mountains. But it was on Mount Olympus itself that the conflict would reach its climax. Zeus, wielding his thunderbolts with devastating effect, led a final, all-out assault against the Titan's stronghold. The battle that ensued was cataclysmic. Zeus hurled his thunderbolts with unerring accuracy, while his brothers Poseidon and Hades unleashed the full might of their new weapons. The Hecatoncheires, with their 100 hands, rained down a barrage of boulders upon the Titans. The very foundations of the earth shook as the two sides clashed in what would be the defining moment of the war. In the end, the Olympians' superior strategy, coupled with their powerful new weapons, proved too much for the Titans to overcome. Victory belonged to Zeus and his siblings, marking a seismic shift in the cosmic order. The defeated Titans faced a harsh fate. Most were cast into the depths of Tartarus, condemned to eternal torment in the very prison that had once held Zeus's allies. Some Titans, however, faced unique punishments that would become the stuff of legend. Atlas, who had led the Titan forces in battle, received a particularly grueling sentence. He was cursed to bear the weight of the sky upon his shoulders for all eternity, a burden that symbolized the crushing defeat of the old order. The aftermath of the Titanomachy saw the establishment of a new cosmic hierarchy, with the Olympians firmly at its apex. Zeus, having led his siblings to victory, took his place as the king of the gods, ruling from his throne atop Mount Olympus. His brothers Poseidon and Hades were given dominion over the seas and the underworld, respectively, while the other Olympians assumed their roles in governing various aspects of the world and human life. Chapter 5. The Olympian Pantheon, Establishment of Divine Domains. The dust of cosmic conflict had barely settled when the victorious Olympians faced their next challenge, dividing the spoils of war. With the Titans vanquished and a new era dawning, the gods found themselves at a crucial juncture. The vast realms they had won needed to be distributed, and the method they chose would shape the cosmic order for eons to come. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, the three most powerful brothers among the Olympians, devised a system to determine their respective domains. In a moment that would define the structure of the universe, they drew lots to assign their realms of influence. This seemingly simple act carried immense consequences, establishing a delicate balance of power that would influence both divine and mortal affairs. The outcome of this celestial lottery saw Zeus ascend to the position of ruler of the sky and king of the gods. His domain encompassed the vast expanse above, granting him authority over the weather and atmospheric phenomena. Zeus's power was symbolized by the thunderbolt, a weapon of unparalleled might that could shake the very foundations of the earth. The eagle became his sacred animal, representing his dominion over the heavens and his ability to survey all that transpired below. Poseidon, often referred to as the Earth Shaker, drew the lot that granted him dominion over the seas. His realm extended to the depths of the oceans and the waters that coursed through the world. But Poseidon's influence reached beyond the waves. He also held sway over earthquakes, wielding the power to reshape the land itself. His trident became the symbol of his authority, a three-pronged weapon capable of stirring the seas into tempests or splitting the ground asunder. The third brother, Hades, was assigned the underworld, becoming the lord of the dead. While his domain might seem grim, it was a realm of vast importance and complexity. Hades governed the afterlife, overseeing the souls of the departed and maintaining order in the world beyond mortal sight. It is crucial to note that while Hades ruled the underworld, he did not command death itself. That role belonged to Thanatos, the personification of death. Hades' position was often misunderstood and feared by mortals, who associated him with the darker aspects of existence. This division of realms among the three brothers established a clear hierarchy within the pantheon, with Zeus at its apex. The king of the gods held court atop Mount Olympus, overseeing both divine and mortal affairs from his lofty throne. The power dynamics among the gods often mirrored human societal structures, with Zeus wielding supreme authority, but still subject to challenges and intrigues from his fellow deities. The other Olympian gods were also assigned specific domains, each representing essential aspects of life and civilization. Athena, born from Zeus's head, became the goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. Her gift of the olive tree to the city of Athens symbolized peace and prosperity, showcasing the multifaceted nature of her influence. This gift proved more valuable to the Athenians than Poseidon's offering of a saltwater spring, highlighting the complex relationships and competitions that existed even among the gods. Aphrodite, who had emerged from the sea foam created by Uranus's fallen genitals, took her place as the goddess of love and beauty. Her domain encompassed the powerful forces of attraction and desire that shaped both divine and mortal relationships. Demeter assumed the role of goddess of agriculture, her influence extending over the cycles of growth and harvest that were vital to human survival. The establishment of these divine domains created a cosmic order that would shape the relationship between gods and mortals for generations to come. Each deity's sphere of influence provided a framework for understanding and interacting with the natural world and human experiences. Mortals would direct their prayers and offerings to specific gods based on their needs or circumstances, reinforcing the connection between the divine and earthly realms. However, the division of power among the Olympians was not without its complications. The interactions between the gods often reflected themes of jealousy, rivalry, and competition. These divine conflicts could have far-reaching consequences for mortals, as exemplified by the myth of the golden apple. This seemingly minor dispute among goddesses ultimately led to the Trojan War, demonstrating how the machinations of the gods could dramatically alter the course of human history. Chapter 6: Prometheus and the Creation of Humanity. As the Olympians settled into their new roles, a figure emerged who would challenge the established order and forever alter the relationship between gods and mortals. Prometheus, a titan who had aligned himself with Zeus during the Great War, turned his gaze towards the mortal realm. Unlike his fellow immortals, Prometheus saw potential in humanity that others had overlooked, setting the stage for a conflict that would resonate throughout Greek mythology. Zeus, in his wisdom, had tasked Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus with the creation of living creatures to populate the world. Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought, approached this task with enthusiasm but little foresight. In his eagerness, he bestowed upon the animals all manner of gifts: strength, speed, fur, wings, and claws. However, when it came time to equip humanity, Epimetheus found that he had exhausted his resources, leaving humans weak and defenseless in a world teeming with formidable creatures. Observing the plight of these fledgling beings, Prometheus resolved to intervene on their behalf. He began by shaping humans from clay, imbuing them with an upright form reminiscent of the gods themselves. This act of creation was more than mere sculpting. It was an assertion that humans held a unique place in the cosmic order, distinct from the beasts that roamed the earth. Yet, physical form alone was insufficient to ensure humanity's survival and prosperity. Prometheus recognized that humans required a catalyst, a spark that would ignite their potential and elevate them above their current state of vulnerability. In a daring act that would have far-reaching consequences, Prometheus decided to steal fire from the gods and gift it to humanity. The theft of fire was no small feat. Fire, in Greek mythology, symbolized far more than mere warmth or light. It represented knowledge, enlightenment, and the very essence of civilization. By bringing this divine flame to earth, Prometheus was not simply providing a tool. He was bestowing upon humanity the means to forge their own destiny. With the gift of fire, humans emerged from the darkness of ignorance and began to develop the hallmarks of civilization. They learned to forge tools, create art, and build societies. The flame that Prometheus had stolen became the cornerstone of human advancement, allowing mortals to carve out their own place in a world dominated by gods and monsters. However, the actions of Prometheus did not go unnoticed by the ruler of Olympus. Zeus, enraged by this theft and the audacity of Prometheus's defiance, devised a punishment of terrible severity. The Titan was condemned to be chained to a remote rocky crag, where each day an eagle would descend to feast upon his liver. As an immortal, Prometheus's organ would regenerate overnight, only to be consumed again the following day, creating a cycle of eternal torment. Despite the horrific nature of his punishment, Prometheus remained unrepentant. His actions had irrevocably changed the course of human history, establishing mortals as beings capable of growth, innovation, and self-determination. The gift of fire had sparked a transformation that could not be undone, even by the wrath of Zeus himself. The myth of Prometheus and his theft of fire serves as a powerful allegory for the human condition. It encapsulates the tension between divine authority and mortal aspiration, highlighting the risks and rewards of defying established order in pursuit of progress. Prometheus, in his role as benefactor of humanity, embodies the spirit of rebellion against tyranny and the unyielding quest for knowledge and enlightenment. Chapter 7: Pandora's Box, the introduction of suffering to humanity. Zeus, still seething from Prometheus's defiance, devised a plan that would plunge humanity into an age of suffering. The creation of Pandora would prove that divine retribution could be as cunning as it was cruel. Zeus instructed Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship and fire, to fashion a being of unparalleled beauty from clay. This first woman, Pandora, was endowed with gifts from all the gods: beauty from Aphrodite, curiosity from Zeus himself, and various other attributes that would make her irresistible to mortals. Pandora's creation was not merely an act of divine artistry, but a carefully orchestrated scheme to introduce chaos into the mortal realm. Zeus presented her with a box, though some accounts describe it as a jar, and gave her strict instructions never to open it. This container, seemingly innocuous, held within it the power to reshape the human experience entirely. Zeus then sent Pandora to Earth as a gift to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus. Prometheus, ever wary of the god's intentions, had warned his brother to reject any gifts from the Olympians. However, Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought, failed to heed this advice. Captivated by Pandora's beauty and charm, he accepted her as his wife, unwittingly bringing the instrument of humanity's downfall into his home. As Pandora settled into her new life among mortals, her divinely instilled curiosity grew stronger with each passing day. The box, with its unknown contents, called to her incessantly. Zeus had cunningly exploited the very traits he had bestowed upon her, knowing that the temptation would eventually prove too great to resist. Unable to contain her curiosity any longer, Pandora finally succumbed to the urge to open the box. As she lifted the lid, she unleashed a torrent of evils into the world. Disease, death, and all manner of suffering poured forth, spreading rapidly across the land and infecting every corner of human existence. The idyllic life that humans had enjoyed until that moment was shattered, replaced by a harsh reality filled with hardship and pain. Pandora, horrified by what she had done, quickly closed the box. But it was too late. The evils had escaped, and their impact on humanity would be irreversible. However, as she peered into the now empty container, she noticed something small remaining at the bottom: hope. This final element, trapped within the box, would become humanity's solace in the face of the newfound hardships. The myth of Pandora's box serves as a powerful allegory for the human condition, illustrating the duality of hope and despair that defines mortal existence. It provided the ancient Greeks with an explanation for the presence of suffering in the world, while also emphasizing the crucial role of hope in human resilience. This narrative reflects the complexity of Greek mythology, where the actions of gods and mortals intertwine to shape the fabric of reality. Scholarly interpretations of the Pandora myth suggest that it encapsulates the ancient Greek understanding of life's unpredictable nature and the inevitability of suffering. The release of evils from the box represents the myriad challenges and hardships that humans must face throughout their lives. However, the presence of hope at the bottom of the box is equally significant, symbolizing humanity's capacity to endure and persevere even in the darkest of times. The Pandora myth also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked curiosity and the potential consequences of defying divine will. It reflects the Greek belief in the limitations of human knowledge and the risks associated with overstepping those boundaries. At the same time, it highlights the complex relationship between the gods and mortals, where divine gifts can often be double-edged swords. In the broader context of Greek mythology, Pandora's story is intrinsically linked to the ongoing conflict between Zeus and Prometheus. It demonstrates Zeus's cunning in devising a punishment that would affect not only Prometheus, but all of humanity. By introducing suffering into the mortal world, Zeus sought to diminish the value of Prometheus's gift of fire and knowledge, reminding humans of their subordinate position in the cosmic order. Chapter 8. The Ages of Man Decline from Golden to Iron. The concept of the Ages of Man in Greek mythology presents a sobering view of human history, challenging our modern notions of progress. This framework divides the entirety of human existence into 5 distinct ages, each more tragic than the last, offering a unique lens through which to view our own place in history. The Golden Age, ruled by the Titan Cronus, stands as the pinnacle of human existence in Greek mythology. During this era, humanity lived in a state of perpetual bliss, free from the burdens of labor and strife. The earth provided abundantly for all, requiring no cultivation or toil. Humans enjoyed a close relationship with the gods, living lives of virtue and peace. This idyllic existence, however, was not destined to last. Following the overthrow of Cronus by Zeus, the Silver Age dawned. This period marked the beginning of humanity's decline, characterized by a growing distance between mortals and the divine. Humans in this age were notably less virtuous than their Golden Age counterparts, often failing to honor the gods properly. Their lives were marked by extended childhoods, with individuals spending 100 years in a state of immaturity before briefly experiencing adulthood. This prolonged adolescence led to impiety and foolishness, angering Zeus and hastening the transition to the next age. The Bronze Age heralded a significant shift in human behavior and society. This era saw the introduction of war and violence on a scale previously unknown. Humanity became increasingly aggressive, fashioning weapons and armor, from bronze to wage conflicts against one another. The people of this age were described as having hearts of adamant unyielding, and harsh. Their focus on warfare and violence led them to neglect their worship of the gods, further widening the gulf between the mortal and divine realms. In a surprising turn, the heroic age emerged as a brief respite from the downward trajectory of human history. This period saw the rise of legendary heroes who undertook great quests and faced mythical monsters. Figures such as Heracles, Perseus, and Jason captured the imagination of the Greeks, embodying ideals of bravery, cunning, and virtue. However, even this age was not without its tragedies, as many heroes met with violent or sorrowful ends. The heroic age, while showcasing the potential for human greatness, ultimately led to further decline as these larger-than-life figures faded into legend. The Iron Age, considered by the ancient Greeks to be their current era, represents the nadir of human existence. This age is characterized by unrelenting toil, grief, and wickedness. Humanity in the Iron Age must work hard to survive, facing all manner of hardships and struggles. The bonds of family and friendship are weakened, with strife existing between parents and children, and brothers turning against one another. Justice and shame are abandoned, leaving only evil to thrive among mortals. This bleak portrayal of the present day served as a stark contrast to the golden age of the past, emphasizing the perceived moral decline of society over time. The progression through these ages reflects a cautionary tale about the consequences of moving away from virtue and the favor of the gods. Each successive age saw humanity drift further from their initial state of grace, losing touch with the divine and becoming more entrenched in earthly struggles. This narrative served as a framework for understanding human history, providing an explanation for the hardships and injustices observed in the world. Chapter 9. The Gigantomachy, another divine war. Just as the mortal realm spiraled into the Iron Age, the divine world erupted into chaos. The Gigantomachy, a cosmic conflict of unprecedented scale, pitted the Olympians against foes of nearly equal power, in a struggle that would determine the fate of the cosmos itself. The giants, born from the blood of Uranus that had fallen upon Gaia during his castration, rose up against the newly established Olympian order. These formidable beings, nearly equal in power to the gods themselves, posed a grave threat to the reign of Zeus and his siblings. The conflict that ensued, known as the Gigantomachy, would shake the very foundations of the universe. As the war unfolded, it became clear that this was no ordinary battle. The giants proved to be adversaries of immense strength and cunning, capable of matching the Olympians blow for blow. The cosmic stage became a battlefield of epic proportions, with each side suffering heavy losses as the conflict raged across the heavens and earth. The Olympians, despite their recent victory over the Titans, found themselves in a precarious position. The giants' power was such that even the mighty Zeus could not guarantee victory through divine strength alone. It was in this moment of uncertainty that a crucial prophecy came to light. The giants could only be defeated with the assistance of a mortal. This revelation marked a significant turning point in the relationship between gods and mortals. The Olympians, in their hour of need, turned to Heracles, the legendary son of Zeus and a mortal woman. Heracles, known for his incredible strength and heroic deeds, was called upon to aid the gods in this monumental battle. The war took on a new dimension as Heracles joined the fray. Each Olympian god found themselves locked in combat with specific giants, showcasing the individual strengths and characteristics of both divine and monstrous beings. These epic duels became the stuff of legend, with gods and giants alike displaying feats of power and skill that would be remembered for generations to come. As the conflict intensified, Gaia, the primordial mother of the giants, intervened on behalf of her children. In a desperate attempt to secure victory for her offspring, she created a plant that would render the giants invincible. This development threatened to tip the scales decisively in favor of the giants, potentially undoing the cosmic order established by the Olympians. However, Zeus, ever the cunning strategist, recognized the danger posed by Gaia's intervention. With characteristic resourcefulness, he moved to thwart her plan, preventing the giants from gaining the upper hand through this supernatural means. This action showcased not only Zeus's power, but also his foresight and ability to outmaneuver even the most ancient and primal forces of the cosmos. With Gaia's plan foiled and Heracles fighting alongside them, the Olympians began to turn the tide of battle. The presence of the mortal hero proved to be the decisive factor, fulfilling the prophecy and allowing the gods to overcome their formidable foes. Heracles' strength and courage, combined with the divine power of the Olympians, proved to be an unstoppable force against which even the mighty giants could not prevail. The final stages of the Gigantomachy were marked by intense combat and dramatic confrontations. Olympians and giants clashed in battles that reshaped landscapes and shook the heavens. The war reached its climax as Zeus, armed with his thunderbolts, and Heracles, wielding his legendary strength, struck down the last of the giant resistance. Chapter 10: The Birth of Heroes, Demigods, and Their Quests. As the dust settled from the Gigantomachy, a new era dawned in Greek mythology. The union of gods and mortals gave rise to an extraordinary class of beings, the demigods. These heroes, possessing both divine power and mortal ingenuity, would embark on quests that would challenge the very fabric of the mythological world. Perseus, son of Zeus, and the mortal princess Danae exemplified the potential of these demigods. Tasked with slaying the Gorgon Medusa, a creature whose gaze could turn men to stone, Perseus's quest showcased the interplay between divine assistance and mortal courage. The gods themselves recognized the importance of his mission, with Hermes and Athena providing magical items to aid him. Armed with a reflective shield and winged sandals, Perseus faced a challenge that would have been insurmountable for an ordinary mortal. The legendary Heracles, another son of Zeus, embodied the immense strength and tragic flaws that often characterized these heroes. His 12 labors, undertaken as penance for the killing of his family in a fit of madness induced by Hera, pushed the boundaries of human capability. Each task was a monumental challenge that tested not only his physical prowess, but also his wit and determination. From slaying the Nemean lion to capturing the elusive golden hind, Heracles' exploits became the stuff of legend, inspiring generations to come. Theseus, the founder hero of Athens, demonstrated that heroism extended beyond mere physical strength. His defeat of the Minotaur in the labyrinth of Crete required both bravery and intelligence. The assistance of Ariadne, who provided him with a ball of thread to navigate the maze, highlighted the crucial role that mortal ingenuity played in these mythic quests. Theseus's triumph over the monstrous Minotaur symbolized the victory of civilization over barbarism, a theme that resonated deeply with the ancient Greeks. The tale of Jason and the Argonauts further illustrated the complex nature of heroic quests. Leading a band of heroes in search of the Golden Fleece, Jason's journey was fraught with challenges that required more than just individual prowess. The quest for the fleece, a symbol of authority and kingship, involved navigating treacherous waters, facing mythical creatures, and contending with the machinations of both gods and mortals. Jason's reliance on the sorceress Medea, who provided him with magical herbs to overcome certain obstacles, demonstrated the often morally ambiguous nature of heroic pursuits. These legendary quests served as more than mere entertainment for the ancient Greeks. They were allegories that explored the complexities of human nature and the relationship between mortals and the divine. The heroes' struggles against fate, their displays of virtue, and the consequences of their hubris offered profound insights into the human condition. Perseus's defeat of Medusa, for instance, could be seen as a triumph over fear and the power of reflection. Heracles' labors illustrated the potential for redemption through perseverance and the fulfillment of duty. The Age of Heroes established a vital bridge between the celestial realm of the gods and the earthly domain of mortals. These demigods, through their extraordinary deeds, shaped the very landscape of Greek mythology. Their actions often brought them into direct conflict with gods, monsters, and the inexorable force of fate itself. This tension between mortal ambition and divine will became a central theme in many of these tales, reflecting the Greeks' own struggles to understand their place in a world governed by capricious deities. The impact of these heroic sagas extended far beyond the realm of mythology. They became integral to Greek cultural identity, influencing art, literature, and philosophy. The values embodied by these heroes, bravery, loyalty, cunning, and the pursuit of glory, were held up as ideals for Greek society. At the same time, the tragic flaws of these figures served as cautionary tales, warning against the dangers of excessive pride and the folly of challenging the natural order. Chapter 11. The Trojan War, a conflict of gods and men. While the Age of Heroes celebrated individual valor, a far greater conflict loomed on the horizon. The Trojan War, a decade-long struggle that would reshape the Greek world, began not with the clash of armies, but with a divine beauty contest. This fateful event would draw gods and mortals alike into a conflict of unprecedented scale, testing the limits of heroism and the consequences of mortal choices. The spark that ignited this monumental war was a seemingly trivial task assigned to Paris, Prince of Troy. Asked to judge which goddess was the most beautiful among Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, Paris found himself at the center of a celestial rivalry. Each goddess offered Paris a tempting reward for his favor, but it was Aphrodite's promise of the most beautiful woman in the world that swayed the young prince's decision. Paris's choice set in motion a chain of events that would have catastrophic consequences. The most beautiful woman in the world was Helen, wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta. True to her word, Aphrodite facilitated Paris's seduction and abduction of Helen, an act that would not go unanswered. Menelaus, enraged by this betrayal, called upon his brother Agamemnon to lead a coalition of Greek forces against Troy. The war that ensued was unlike any other in Greek mythology. For 10 long years, the mightiest warriors of Greece laid siege to the impregnable walls of Troy. The conflict was marked by heavy losses on both sides, as neither the Greeks nor the Trojans could gain a decisive advantage. What set this war apart from mere mortal conflicts was the direct involvement of the gods themselves, who took sides and intervened in battles, elevating the struggle to cosmic proportions. As the war raged on, it became the crucible in which the true nature of heroism was tested. Great heroes rose to prominence, their names destined to echo through the ages. Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greeks, whose legendary wrath would shape the course of the war. Hector, Troy's mightiest defender, whose sense of duty and love for his city would lead him to face Achilles in single combat. Odysseus, whose cunning and strategic mind would ultimately devise the means to breach Troy's defenses. The involvement of the gods added layers of complexity to the conflict. Apollo sent plague upon the Greek camps, while Athena guided Odysseus in his moments of need. Ares, the god of war, fought alongside the Trojans, only to be wounded by the Greek hero Diomedes with Athena's aid. These divine interventions underscored the intricate relationship between gods and mortals, where human actions could incur divine wrath or favor. As the war dragged on, it became clear that Troy would not fall by conventional means. It was then that Odysseus conceived of the stratagem that would become legendary, the Trojan horse. This cunning plan, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of insurmountable odds, would finally bring about the fall of Troy. The Greeks constructed a massive wooden horse and left it outside the gates of Troy, pretending to sail away in defeat. The Trojans, believing the horse to be an offering to Athena, brought it within their walls. Under the cover of night, Greek warriors hidden inside the horse emerged and opened the gates, allowing their army to pour in and sack the city. The fall of Troy came at a great cost to both the victors and the vanquished. The city was razed to the ground, its people slaughtered or enslaved. Even the Greeks found their victory hollow, as many of their greatest heroes would never return home. The aftermath of the war spawned numerous myths about the fates of its key figures, many of them tragic. Odysseus's 10-year journey home would become an epic in its own right, while Agamemnon returned only to be murdered by his wife and her lover. Chapter 12, Odysseus's Journey, the Perils of Nostos. As the dust settled on Troy's ruins, one Greek hero found that his greatest battles lay ahead. Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca, embarked on a journey home that would span a decade and test the very limits of human endurance. This voyage, known in Greek tradition as a nostos, would prove to be fraught with perils far beyond those faced on the battlefields of Troy. Odysseus's first major trial came in the form of the Cyclops Polyphemus, a monstrous one-eyed giant with an appetite for human flesh. Trapped in the Cyclops' cave with his men, Odysseus demonstrated the quick thinking that had made him invaluable during the Trojan War. In a stroke of brilliance, he introduced himself to Polyphemus as nobody. This clever ruse allowed Odysseus to blind the Cyclops and escape with his surviving crew. When Polyphemus cried out for help, claiming that nobody was attacking him, his fellow Cyclops dismissed his pleas, leaving Odysseus and his men to slip away undetected. The journey continued with an encounter that would challenge not only Odysseus's wit, but also his leadership. Upon reaching the island of Aea, his crew fell victim to the enchantments of Circe, a powerful sorceress who transformed them into pigs. Odysseus, armed with a magical herb called moly provided by the god Hermes, resisted Circe's spells and negotiated the return of his men to human form. This episode highlighted the constant threat of supernatural forces and the importance of divine assistance in Odysseus's quest. As Odysseus and his crew sailed on, they faced one of the most iconic challenges of Greek mythology, the sirens. These enchanting creatures were known for luring sailors to their doom with their irresistible songs. Determined to hear their melodies without succumbing to their fatal allure, Odysseus devised an ingenious plan. He had his men plug their ears with beeswax, rendering them deaf to the sirens' call. Odysseus himself, driven by an insatiable curiosity, was bound tightly to the ship's mast. This allowed him to experience the siren's song, while preventing him from steering the ship toward destruction. The episode serves as a powerful metaphor for the tension between human curiosity and self-preservation. Perhaps the most harrowing navigational challenge Odysseus faced was the passage between Scylla and Charybdis. These twin terrors represented a classic between a rock and a hard place scenario. Scylla, a six-headed monster, posed a direct threat to the crew, while Charybdis, a massive whirlpool, threatened to destroy the entire ship. Faced with this impossible choice, Odysseus opted to confront Scylla, sacrificing 6 of his men to save the rest of the crew and the ship. This decision underscored the brutal calculus of leadership in times of crisis and the heavy toll of the journey on Odysseus and his men. After years of wandering and numerous trials, Odysseus found himself stranded on the island of Ogygia, held captive by the nymph Calypso. For 7 long years he remained there, offered immortality but longing for his home, wife Penelope, and son Telemachus. This extended captivity represented not just a physical obstacle, but a profound emotional and psychological challenge. Odysseus's refusal of immortality in favor of returning to his mortal life in Ithaca highlighted the central theme of Nostos, the deep-seated human desire for home and the lengths one will go to achieve it. Odysseus's decade-long journey, filled with monsters, divine beings, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles, transcended mere adventure to become a profound exploration of the human condition. Each trial he faced served as an allegory for the challenges encountered in life's journey. The Cyclops represented the need for cunning in the face of brute force. Circe symbolized the temptations that can lead one astray from their path. The Sirens embodied the allure of dangerous knowledge, while Scylla and Charybdis represented the difficult choices we must sometimes make. Chapter 13. The House of Atreus, a Cycle of Vengeance. While Odysseus's journey tested the limits of human endurance, the curse of the House of Atreus pushed the boundaries of human depravity. This tale of betrayal and vengeance spans generations, each more horrific than the last. The curse began with Tantalus, a figure whose hubris led him to commit an act so heinous it would echo through the annals of Greek mythology. Tantalus, favored by the gods and often invited to their feasts, decided to test their omniscience. In a moment of unthinkable cruelty, he murdered his own son, Pelops, and served him as a meal to the Olympians. This act of cannibalism, intended to deceive the divine, instead brought about a curse that would plague Tantalus's descendants for generations to come. The gods, appalled by Tantalus's crime, condemned him to eternal punishment in Tartarus. There, he stood in a pool of water beneath a fruit tree, always hungry and thirsty, yet unable to reach either the water or the fruit. But the punishment did not end with Tantalus alone. The curse extended to his progeny, setting in motion a cycle of violence and retribution that would define the house of Atreus. The curse manifested in the actions of Atreus and Thyestes, grandsons of Tantalus. Their struggle for the throne of Mycenae led to a series of betrayals and acts of vengeance. Atreus, in a twisted echo of his grandfather's crime, tricked Thyestes into consuming his own children. This horrific act of revenge not only continued the cycle of familial violence, but also set the stage for future atrocities. Agamemnon, son of Atreus, inherited both the throne of Mycenae and the weight of the family curse. As leader of the Greek forces in the Trojan War, Agamemnon faced a terrible choice that would seal his fate. The goddess Artemis, angered by Agamemnon, prevented the Greek fleet from sailing to Troy by stilling the winds. To appease the goddess and secure favorable winds, Agamemnon was told he must sacrifice his daughter, Iphigenia. In a moment that epitomized the tragic nature of the house of Atreus, Agamemnon chose to sacrifice his own child for the sake of the war effort. This act, while framed as necessary for the greater good, was a chilling reflection of Tantalus's original crime. It demonstrated how the curse continued to manifest, forcing each generation to commit acts that tore at the very fabric of familial bonds. Upon Agamemnon's return from Troy after a decade of warfare, The consequences of his actions awaited him. His wife, Clytemnestra, had not forgotten the sacrifice of their daughter. Consumed by grief and a desire for vengeance, Clytemnestra, along with her lover Aegisthus, plotted Agamemnon's demise. As the victorious king stepped into his palace, he was murdered, struck down in his moment of triumph by those closest to him. The cycle of vengeance, however, did not end with Agamemnon's death. His son, Orestes, found himself torn between two impossible choices: avenge his father's murder or respect the sanctity of the mother-child bond. Ultimately, guided by Apollo's oracle, Orestes chose to avenge his father. He returned to Mycenae, and in a moment of terrible resolve, killed both Clytemnestra and Aegisthus. Orestes' matricide, while an act of filial duty and justice in the eyes of some, was a transgression of one of the most fundamental taboos in Greek society. The Furies, ancient goddesses of vengeance, pursued Orestes relentlessly, driving him to the brink of madness. His torment represented the culmination of generations of violence, each act of revenge begetting another, trapping the house of Atreus in an endless cycle of bloodshed. Chapter 14. The Labours of Heracles, Trials of a Demigod. From the depths of human depravity emerged a tale of superhuman strength and impossible tasks. Heracles, the son of Zeus and a mortal woman, stood as the greatest of Greek heroes, renowned for his incredible strength and numerous adventures. Yet, even the mightiest of heroes was not immune to the capricious nature of the gods. Hera, Zeus's wife, harbored a deep-seated hatred for this living reminder of her husband's infidelity. In a cruel act of vengeance, she drove Heracles to madness, causing him to commit an unspeakable act: the murder of his own children. The weight of this heinous deed bore heavily upon Heracles, and he sought a path to redemption. The Oracle of Delphi provided a glimmer of hope, decreeing that Heracles could atone for his crime by completing 12 seemingly impossible labours. These tasks, set by King Eurystheus of Tiryns, would push Heracles to the very limits of his strength, wit, and endurance. The first of these labours pitted Heracles against the fearsome Nemean lion, a beast whose golden hide was impervious to weapons. Undaunted by the challenge, Heracles faced the lion in its lair. Finding his arrows and club ineffective against the creature's impenetrable skin, Heracles resorted to his raw strength. In a display of sheer power, he strangled the lion with his bare hands. This victory not only marked the beginning of his trials, but also provided Heracles with his iconic lion skin cloak, which he wore as both armor and symbol of his might. Heracles' second labor brought him face to face with the Lernaean Hydra, a multi-headed serpent that posed a unique challenge. Each time Heracles severed one of the creature's heads, 2 more would grow in its place. This test required more than brute force. It demanded ingenuity. With the assistance of his nephew, Iolaus, Heracles devised a strategy. As he cut off each head, Iolaus cauterized the wound, preventing regeneration. This triumph over the Hydra showcased Heracles' ability to combine strength with strategic thinking. The hero's third labor required a different set of skills altogether. Tasked with capturing the Cyrenian hind, a swift creature with golden antlers, Heracles embarked on a year-long pursuit. This test of patience and determination pushed Heracles to his limits as he chased the elusive hind across the Greek landscape. His eventual success in this task demonstrated that Heracles possessed not only physical prowess, but also unwavering perseverance. For his fourth labor, Heracles was sent to capture the Erymanthian boar, a beast that had been terrorizing the countryside. Displaying his tactical acumen, Heracles drove the boar into deep snow, where its movements were hindered. This allowed him to bind the creature and bring it back alive, illustrating his ability to conquer nature through clever strategies rather than relying solely on brute force. The fifth labor presented a different kind of challenge, one that seemed more mundane, yet no less daunting. Heracles was tasked with cleaning the Augean stables, which had not been tended to for 30 years. The accumulation of filth from countless animals appeared to be an insurmountable task. However, Heracles approached this problem with characteristic ingenuity. He diverted 2 rivers to wash through the stables, accomplishing in a single day what would have taken years of manual labor. This feat not only demonstrated Heracles' problem-solving skills, but also touched upon themes of purification and transformation. As Heracles progressed through his labors, the tasks grew increasingly complex and dangerous. His 6th labor required him to drive away the Stymphalian birds, creatures with iron beaks that were sacred to Ares, the god of war. Armed with bronze rattles given to him by Athena, Heracles scared the birds into flight, then shot them down with his bow. This labor highlighted the hero's adaptability and the importance of divine assistance in his quests. The subsequent labors continued to test Heracles in diverse ways. He wrestled and captured the Cretan bull, retrieved the man-eating mares of Diomedes, and obtained the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. Each task presented unique challenges, from feats of strength to navigating complex social and political situations. As Heracles neared the completion of his labors, the tasks became even more perilous. He was sent to the ends of the known world to steal the cattle of Geryon, a fearsome giant with 3 bodies. This quest not only tested Heracles' combat skills, but also his ability to navigate treacherous journeys and overcome geographical barriers. The penultimate labor required Heracles to retrieve the golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides. This task demanded not only strength, but also cunning, as Heracles had to trick Atlas into fetching the apples, while he temporarily took on the Titan's burden of holding up the sky. This labor showcased Heracles' intellect and his ability to outmaneuver even the most formidable opponents. For his final and most dangerous labor, Heracles was commanded to capture Cerberus, the 3-headed guard dog of the underworld. This task required Heracles to journey into the realm of the dead, facing not only physical dangers, but also the psychological challenge of confronting mortality itself. Through sheer strength and indomitable will, Heracles wrestled Cerberus into submission and brought the creature back to the mortal world, symbolizing his ultimate triumph over death. Chapter 15. The Argonauts' Quest for the Golden Fleece. While Heracles triumphed over death itself, another hero faced a quest that would test the limits of mortal ambition and reshape the very definition of heroism. Jason, the rightful heir to the throne of Iolcus, found himself tasked with a seemingly impossible mission: to retrieve the legendary Golden Fleece from the distant land of Colchis. This quest, set by his uncle Peleus, who had usurped the throne, was designed to be insurmountable. A clever ploy to rid Peleus of the threat to his ill-gotten power. Recognizing the magnitude of the challenge before him, Jason understood that success would require more than individual prowess. It would demand a coalition of the greatest heroes the Greek world had ever known. Thus began the assembly of the Argonauts, a crew of unparalleled skill and renown, named after their ship, the Argo. Among their ranks were legendary figures such as Heracles, whose strength was unmatched, Zetes and Calais, the winged sons of the north wind, Orpheus, the famed musician whose melodies could charm even the most fearsome beasts, and Atalanta, the skilled huntress whose speed and accuracy with a bow were unrivaled. The journey of the Argonauts was fraught with perils that would have broken lesser men. They faced the terrifying clashing rocks, a treacherous passage that had never before been successfully navigated by any vessel. The relentless assault of the Harpies tested not only their combat skills, but also their resolve in the face of ceaseless torment. Each challenge demanded not just physical strength, but also cunning, teamwork, and unwavering determination. Upon reaching Colchis, Jason discovered that obtaining the Golden Fleece would require far more than a simple act of theft. King Aeetes, unwilling to part with his prized possession, set before Jason a series of tasks so daunting they bordered on the realm of impossibility. The hero was commanded to yoke fire-breathing bulls, creatures of such ferocity that their very breath could reduce a man to ashes. Following this, he was to plough a field with these untamable beasts and sow it with dragon's teeth, from which would spring fully armed warriors bent on his destruction. It was in this moment of seemingly inevitable failure that fate intervened in the form of Medea, daughter of King Aeetes. Struck by Eros's arrow at the behest of Aphrodite, Medea found herself consumed by an overwhelming passion for Jason. A powerful sorceress in her own right, she chose to betray her family and homeland for the love of this foreign prince. Medea's magic became Jason's salvation, as she provided him with enchanted herbs to protect him from the fire-breathing bulls and taught him the secret to defeating the warriors born from dragon's teeth. With Medea's aid, Jason triumphed over the impossible tasks set before him. Yet the greatest challenge still remained: stealing the Golden Fleece itself from the sleepless dragon that guarded it. Once again, it was Medea's sorcery that proved decisive. Her potions lulled the fearsome beast into a deep slumber, allowing Jason to seize the fleece and make his escape. The return journey of the Argonauts was marked by both triumph and tragedy. They had achieved what many had deemed impossible, securing a treasure of immense symbolic and material value. The Golden Fleece, representing authority and kingship, was more than just a trophy. It was the key to Jason's rightful place on the throne of Iolcus. However, their victory came at a terrible cost, particularly for Medea, who had sacrificed everything for Jason's success. Chapter 16: Theseus and the Minotaur, the birth of a hero king. As the Argonauts' tale faded into legend, a new hero emerged to face a challenge that threatened not just his own life, but the future of an entire city. Athens, the crown jewel of Greek civilization, lived under a horrifying shadow. Every 9 years, the city was forced to send 7 young men and 7 maidens to Crete as tribute to King Minos. These youths were not destined for a life of servitude, but for a far more gruesome fate. They would become prey for the monstrous Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. This nightmarish cycle seemed destined to continue indefinitely, until Theseus, son of King Aegeus of Athens, volunteered to be one of the tributes. His goal was not merely to face the monster, but to slay it, ending Athens' burden once and for all. Theseus's decision was a pivotal moment, marking the transition from a city living in fear to one that would challenge its fate. The Minotaur itself was a product of divine punishment and human hubris. King Minos had angered Poseidon by refusing to sacrifice a magnificent white bull sent by the god. In retribution, Poseidon caused Minos' wife, Pasiphae, to develop an unnatural passion for the bull, resulting in the birth of the half-human, half-bull creature. Ashamed and fearful of the monster, Minos commissioned the legendary craftsman Daedalus to construct an elaborate maze known as the Labyrinth to contain it. The labyrinth was a marvel of engineering, a structure so complex that even its creator struggled to find his way out after its completion. Its twisting corridors and deceptive dead ends were designed to confuse and disorient. ensuring that those who entered would never escape. It was within this impossible maze that the Minotaur roamed, its bestial roars echoing through the stone passages as it hunted for its prey. Upon arriving in Crete, Theseus's bravery and noble bearing caught the eye of Princess Ariadne, daughter of King Minos. Moved by love and a desire to see the cycle of sacrifice end, Ariadne decided to aid the Athenian prince in his seemingly impossible quest. Her contribution would prove crucial. She provided Theseus with a ball of thread, a simple yet ingenious solution to the labyrinth's complexity. Armed with Ariadne's thread and his own courage, Theseus entered the labyrinth. As he ventured deeper into the maze, he unspooled the thread behind him, creating a lifeline that would guide him back to the entrance. The deeper he went, the louder the Minotaur's bellows became, until at last, in the heart of the labyrinth, Theseus came face to face with the monster. The battle between Theseus and the Minotaur was fierce and desperate. The creature's immense strength and bestial fury were matched against Theseus's skill, agility, and determination. In the narrow confines of the labyrinth, Theseus had to rely on his wits as much as his physical prowess. After a grueling struggle, Theseus emerged victorious, having slain the Minotaur and ended its reign of terror. With the monster defeated, Theseus faced the challenge of escaping the labyrinth. Here, Ariadne's thread proved its worth, allowing the hero to retrace his steps and find his way back to the entrance. Theseus's triumph was complete. He had not only survived, but had liberated Athens from its dreadful tribute. The aftermath of Theseus's victory was bittersweet. Despite Ariadne's crucial role in his success, Theseus abandoned her on the island of Naxos during their return journey to Athens. This act of ingratitude would have far-reaching consequences, both for Ariadne and for Theseus himself. Upon his return to Athens, Theseus's journey took a tragic turn. He had promised his father, King Aegeus, that if he survived his encounter with the Minotaur, he would change the black sails of his ship to white as a signal of his victory. In the elation of his success, Theseus forgot this promise. Seeing the black sails approach, Aegeus, believing his son to be dead, threw himself into the sea in despair. This body of water would forever after be known as the Aegean Sea, a lasting reminder of the price of forgetfulness. Chapter 17. Perseus and Medusa, a hero's destiny. From the depths of despair caused by Theseus's forgetfulness, we turn to a tale where divine memory would play a crucial role. The story of Perseus, son of Zeus and Danae, unfolds as a testament to the power of divine intervention and mortal ingenuity. Born under extraordinary circumstances, Perseus's fate was intertwined with prophecy from the moment of his conception. Zeus, in his infinite desire for mortal women, had impregnated Danae in the form of a golden shower. This divine union led to a chain of events that would shape Perseus's destiny. King Acrisius, fearing a prophecy that his grandson would be his undoing, cast both mother and child into the sea in a wooden chest. Their survival, ensured by the will of the gods, brought them to the island of Seriphos, where a humble fisherman named Dictys took them under his care. As Perseus grew into a young man, the shadow of fate loomed ever closer. King Polydectes, the ruler of Seriphos, set his sights on Danae, desiring her as his wife. To remove the obstacle of her protective son, Polydectes devised a cunning plan. He announced his intention to marry another woman and called for gifts from his subjects. Perseus, eager to prove his worth, boldly promised to bring the king any gift he desired. Seizing this opportunity, Polydectes demanded the impossible, the head of Medusa, one of the fearsome Gorgons. Medusa's tale was one of tragedy and divine retribution. Once a beautiful maiden, she had been transformed into a monster by the goddess Athena. This transformation came as punishment after Poseidon assaulted Medusa in Athena's temple, a grievous offense against the virgin goddess. Now, Medusa's gaze could turn any living creature to stone, and her hair writhed with venomous serpents. She had become a symbol of the consequences of divine wrath and the perils of mortal hubris. Perseus's quest seemed doomed from the start. How could a mortal hope to defeat a creature that could petrify with a single glance? Yet, the young hero's divine lineage would prove to be his salvation. The gods, recognizing the virtue and potential in Zeus's mortal son, chose to intervene. Hermes, the messenger god, gifted Perseus with winged sandals that would allow him to fly. From Athena came a polished shield, its reflective surface a crucial tool in the hero's strategy against Medusa's petrifying gaze. Armed with these divine gifts, Perseus embarked on his perilous journey. The challenge before him was not merely one of physical prowess, but of cunning and strategy. As he approached Medusa's lair, Perseus employed the polished shield as a mirror, allowing him to see the Gorgon's reflection without risking direct eye contact. This clever tactic showcased the resourcefulness often attributed to heroes in Greek mythology, blending mortal ingenuity with divine assistance. In a moment that would be immortalized in countless works of art and literature, Perseus beheaded Medusa as she slept. The act was swift and decisive, a testament to the hero's skill and the effectiveness of the god's gifts. From the severed neck of the Gorgon sprang two miraculous beings, Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a giant wielding a golden sword. This strange birth from death symbolized the cyclical nature of creation and destruction in Greek mythology, as well as the idea that great achievements can lead to new beginnings and the emergence of new heroes. With Medusa's head secured in a special sack provided by the gods, Perseus began his journey home. However, his adventures were far from over. As he flew over the coast of Ethiopia, he encountered a scene of impending tragedy. Andromeda, daughter of King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia, was chained to a rock, offered as a sacrifice to appease a sea monster sent by Poseidon. Without hesitation, Perseus swooped down to rescue the maiden, using Medusa's head to turn the monster to stone. This act of heroism not only saved Andromeda, but also secured Perseus a bride, as the grateful king offered his daughter's hand in marriage. Chapter 18. Orpheus and Eurydice, the power and limits of love. From the heights of Perseus's aerial rescue, we descend into the depths of the underworld, where a tale of love and loss unfolds. Orpheus, son of Apollo, possessed a musical talent so profound it could charm not just monsters, but the very rulers of the realm of the dead. This extraordinary gift would be put to the ultimate test, in a quest that challenged the very laws of nature itself. Orpheus's mastery of music was unparalleled in the mortal world. His melodies could soothe savage beasts, coax trees to dance, and even cause rivers to alter their course. This divine talent was not merely a source of entertainment, but a force that could transcend the boundaries between the living and the dead. The musician's life was filled with joy when he married his beloved Eurydice. However, their happiness was tragically short-lived. Shortly after their wedding, Eurydice suffered a fatal snake bite, plunging Orpheus into a state of inconsolable grief. The loss of his wife was a blow that even his extraordinary musical abilities could not ease. In his despair, Orpheus made a decision that would test the limits of his love and his art. He resolved to journey to the underworld itself, a realm from which no mortal had ever returned. to plead for Eurydice's life. This audacious plan demonstrated not only the depths of Orpheus's love, but also his unwavering belief in the power of his music. The descent into the underworld was a perilous journey, filled with obstacles that would have deterred any ordinary mortal. Yet Orpheus pressed on, his determination fueled by love and his path cleared by the enchanting notes of his lyre. As he approached the throne of Hades and Persephone, rulers of the underworld, Orpheus began to play. The music that flowed from Orpheus's instrument was unlike anything the underworld had ever heard. It spoke of love, loss, and the pain of separation. The melodies were so beautiful, so heart-wrenching, that they moved even the stoic rulers of the dead. Hades and Persephone, known for their implacability, found themselves swayed by the mortal musician's plea. In an unprecedented act of compassion, the rulers of the underworld agreed to allow Eurydice to return to the world of the living. However, their agreement came with a crucial condition. Orpheus was not to look back at Eurydice until they both reached the surface. This stipulation served as both a test of Orpheus's trust and a reminder of the insurmountable divide between life and death. With hope rekindled in his heart, Orpheus began the arduous journey back to the world of the living, with Eurydice following behind. The ascent was fraught with challenges, both physical and psychological. As they neared the exit, doubts began to creep into Orpheus's mind. Was Eurydice truly behind him? Had the rulers of the underworld honored their agreement? In a moment of weakness, overcome by a mixture of doubt and excitement, Orpheus committed the fatal error. He turned to look at Eurydice, forgetting the condition set by Hades and Persephone. In that instant, Eurydice vanished, pulled back into the depths of the underworld forever. Orpheus's momentary lapse had cost him everything he had fought so hard to regain. The consequences of Orpheus's action were immediate and irreversible. He found himself alone at the threshold of the living world, his beloved wife lost to him for a second time. The pain of this second loss was even more acute than the first, compounded by the knowledge that his own action had caused it. Orpheus's return to the world of the living was marked by profound sorrow. His music, once a source of joy and wonder, now carried the weight of his grief and regret. The myth of Orpheus and Eurydice explores deep themes that resonate with the human experience. It speaks to the power of love to inspire extraordinary actions, the tension between trust and doubt, and the painful reality of death's finality. Chapter 19. The Olympian Gods, Divine Drama, and Human Interaction. As we ascend from the depths of the underworld, we find ourselves on the lofty heights of Mount Olympus, where the immortal gods reside. Despite their divine status and immense power, the Olympian gods exhibited traits remarkably similar to those of mortals. Their interactions with one another and with humans drove many of the most compelling narratives in Greek mythology, showcasing a pantheon rife with drama, passion, and conflict. The Olympian gods, for all their might, were not immune to the complexities of emotion and relationships. Their jealousies, loves, and rivalries often had far-reaching consequences, particularly for the mortals who found themselves caught in the crossfire of divine disputes. These gods, with their all-too-human foibles, served as a mirror to Greek society, reflecting and magnifying the intricacies of human nature. Zeus, the king of the gods, was perhaps the most prolific instigator of divine drama. His numerous affairs led to the birth of many demigods, heroes who would go on to shape the course of mythological history. However, these liaisons also incited the wrath of his wife, Hera. The queen of the gods, consumed by jealousy, often took vengeful actions against both Zeus and his mortal lovers. Her retribution was swift and merciless, demonstrating the destructive power of unchecked jealousy, even among the divine. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, was another frequent source of both mortal and divine strife. Her manipulation of love among gods and humans alike often resulted in tragic consequences. The tale of Narcissus serves as a prime example of Aphrodite's influence. Cursed by the goddess to fall in love with his own reflection, Narcissus wasted away, unable to tear himself from his own image. This myth not only showcases Aphrodite's power, but also serves as a cautionary tale against excessive self-love and vanity. The twin deities, Apollo and Artemis, presented a fascinating duality in their roles within the pantheon. On one hand, they acted as divine protectors, safeguarding their devotees and championing causes dear to them. Apollo, as the god of music, poetry, and prophecy, inspired artists and seers. Artemis, goddess of the hunt and protector of young women, watched over her charges with fierce dedication. However, these same deities could also serve as agents of swift and terrible punishment. Their arrows could bring sudden death or disease, reminding mortals of the precarious nature of divine favor. The contrast between wisdom and brute force found its embodiment in the relationship between Athena and Ares. Athena, born from Zeus's head, represented strategic thinking, wisdom, and calculated warfare. Her approach often put her at odds with Ares, the god of war, who reveled in the chaos and bloodshed of battle. Their conflicts mirrored the eternal struggle between reason and passion, strategy and impulse, highlighting the multifaceted nature of warfare and conflict in Greek thought. Hephaestus, the divine craftsman, found himself at the center of many mythological tales due to his tumultuous marriage to Aphrodite. Despite his unparalleled skill in metalworking and craftsmanship, Hephaestus was often portrayed as physically unattractive and lame. His marriage to the goddess of beauty was a source of constant tension, with Aphrodite's infidelities, particularly her affair with Ares, driving many narratives. The complex dynamics of their relationship explored themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the nature of love itself. The interactions among the Olympian gods served as powerful allegories for natural phenomena and social dynamics. Their conflicts and alliances often explained the changing of seasons, the occurrence of natural disasters, or the rise and fall of human civilizations. For instance, the changing seasons were attributed to Demeter's grief over her daughter Persephone's annual descent to the underworld. Poseidon's mood swings explained the unpredictable nature of the sea, while Zeus's thunderbolts rationalized storms and lightning. Chapter 20. The Afterlife, Realms of Hades. While the gods ruled the heavens and earth, their influence extended even beyond mortal life. The ancient Greeks envisioned a complex afterlife system that reflected their ideas of justice, morality, and the mysteries of death. This intricate underworld, ruled by Hades, served as the final destination for all souls, regardless of their earthly deeds or social status. The journey to the afterlife began with Charon, the ferryman of the dead. This enigmatic figure played a crucial role in the transition from life to death, ferrying souls across the river Styx. However, passage was not guaranteed. Only those who could pay Charon's fee, typically in the form of coins placed under their tongues when buried, were granted safe passage. This practice underscored the importance of proper funeral rites in Greek culture, and the belief that one's journey in death was inextricably linked to the care provided by the living. Upon crossing the Styx, souls found themselves in a realm divided into distinct regions, each catering to different categories of the deceased. The majority of souls, those who had lived unremarkable lives, neither virtuous nor wicked, were destined for the fields of asphodel. This vast expanse was described as a place of bland and dreary existence, a reflection of the lives led by its inhabitants. Here, souls experienced a muted afterlife, devoid of the joys and sorrows that had characterized their mortal existence. For heroes and those who had led virtuous lives, a far more appealing fate awaited. These exceptional individuals were granted access to Elysium, a paradise of eternal happiness. In this idyllic realm, souls could experience all of life's pleasures, engaging in feasts, hunts, and other enjoyable pursuits. The concept of Elysium served as a powerful motivator for virtuous behavior in life, promising an eternity of bliss for those who adhered to moral principles. Conversely, the wicked faced a grim destiny in Tartarus, a place of eternal punishment. This dark and foreboding region of the underworld was reserved for those who had committed grave transgressions against the gods or their fellow humans. In Tartarus, souls endured various tortures designed to fit their earthly crimes, a concept that would later influence Western notions of hell and divine retribution. The determination of a soul's fate was not arbitrary, but subject to a system of divine judgment. Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Iacchus, former kings renowned for their wisdom and fairness, served as judges of the dead. These august figures examined the actions of each soul during their mortal life, weighing their deeds and misdeeds before pronouncing their eternal sentence. This process of judgment emphasized the Greek belief in personal accountability and the consequences of one's actions, even beyond death. The fields of asphodel, while not a place of punishment, were far from a reward. Souls in this realm existed in a state of peaceful monotony, their memories of life gradually fading. After 1,000 years, each inhabitant of asphodel would drink from the river Lethe, whose waters possessed the power to erase all memory. This act of forgetting paved the way for reincarnation, allowing souls to return to the world of the living, unburdened by their past experiences. In Elysium, the contrast to asphodel was stark. Here, souls reveled in eternal pleasures, enjoying parties, feasts, and hunts that echoed the finest moments of their mortal lives. The inhabitants of Elysium were given a choice. They could opt to return to Earth, facing once again the trials and tribulations of mortal existence. However, most chose to remain in this paradise, unwilling to trade eternal bliss for the uncertainties of life. Tartarus, the realm of punishment, was a place of unending torment. Here, Hades himself designed punishments tailored to each soul's transgressions. The horrors of Tartarus served as cautionary tales, warning the living of the consequences of wickedness and impiety. This realm embodied the Greek conception of divine justice, where no evil deed went unpunished, and the scales of cosmic balance were forever maintained. Chapter 21. Legacy of Greek Mythology. Influence on Western culture. The legacy of Greek mythology extends far beyond the ancient world, profoundly shaping Western culture for over 2 millennia. These timeless tales of gods, heroes, and mythical creatures have been retold and reinterpreted across various mediums, reflecting the values and beliefs of different eras. The enduring relevance of Greek myths lies in their exploration of universal themes such as love, power, fate, and the human condition. These stories continue to resonate with audiences, providing insights into the complexities of life and morality. Throughout history, Greek mythology has served as a wellspring of inspiration for visual artists. From ancient pottery and sculptures to Renaissance paintings and modern illustrations, the imagery of Greek mythology has been utilized to convey deeper meanings and emotions. The dramatic scenes and powerful figures from these myths have provided artists with a rich tapestry of subjects to explore, allowing them to delve into the human psyche and express fundamental truths about the human experience. Literature has continually drawn from and reinterpreted Greek mythological themes. Works such as Shakespeare's plays, modern novels, and poetry often reference mythological figures and stories, demonstrating the myth's lasting impact on storytelling. These ancient narratives provide a framework for authors to explore complex emotions, moral dilemmas, and the nature of heroism. By reimagining these stories in new contexts, writers continue to breathe fresh life into age-old tales, making them relevant to contemporary audiences. The influence of Greek mythology extends beyond the realm of art and literature, permeating even the field of psychology. Sigmund Freud's concept of the Oedipus complex, which suggests that young boys experience subconscious desires for their mothers and rivalry with their fathers, is rooted in the tragic story of Oedipus, who unknowingly killed his father and married his mother. This demonstrates how Greek myths continue to provide frameworks for understanding complex human behaviors and psychological phenomena. Modern popular culture frequently references and adapts Greek mythological stories. Films, television series, and books often reinterpret these ancient tales, making them accessible to contemporary audiences and exploring themes that remain relevant today. These adaptations range from direct retellings of mythological stories to more subtle allusions, incorporating elements of Greek mythology into new narratives. This ongoing engagement with these ancient stories highlights their enduring appeal and ability to captivate audiences across generations. The myths continue to be used as metaphors for human experiences and societal issues. They provide frameworks for understanding complex emotions and moral dilemmas, allowing individuals to reflect on their own lives through the lens of mythology. For instance, the tale of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and fell to his death, serves as a cautionary metaphor for the dangers of hubris and overambition. Similarly, the labors of Heracles can be seen as allegories for the challenges and obstacles individuals face in their personal and professional lives. Greek mythology remains a vital part of our cultural heritage, influencing various aspects of modern life, including language, art, and philosophy. Many English words and phrases have their roots in Greek mythology, such as Achilles' heel, to describe a weakness or vulnerability, or Pandora's box, to refer to a source of unforeseen troubles. The myths continue to be studied in schools and universities, providing students with insights into ancient Greek culture and the foundations of Western civilization. The stories of Greek mythology continue to resonate with modern audiences, offering insights into the human condition and the nature of existence. They explore timeless themes such as the struggle between fate and free will, the consequences of human actions, and the complex relationships between mortals and the divine. By presenting these themes through vivid characters and dramatic narratives, Greek myths provide a lens through which we can examine our own experiences and grapple with fundamental questions about life, death, and the human experience.